Micah Parsons is working his way back from the most significant injury of his NFL career, but Packers fans should not expect him to see week 1. Parsons tore his ACL in December, underwent reconstructive surgery that also included a meniscus repair, and is now approaching the final and most important part of his recovery. So we're going to be breaking down exactly what happened inside his knee, why does the meniscus repair change the timeline, how far he has progressed, and when we could see realistically one of the best NFL rushers back on the field. So Parsons suffered a torn ACL during the Packers' Week 15 loss to the Denver Broncos on December 14th, 2025. The injury occurred late in the third quarter while Parsons was blitzing and trying to contain quarterback Bo Nix. There was no direct hit to the knee. Parsons took an awkward step, immediately grabbing that knee and went to the ground. An MRI the following day confirmed an ACL tear, ending the season. Parsons underwent surgery on December 29th. We know that the procedure included ACL reconstruction and work on the meniscus. Early team reporting described the meniscus procedure as a cleanup, but the Packers' more recent updates specifically called it a meniscus repair. That distinction does matter because a repair generally has to be protected while the tissues do heal. Parsons did later say that he remained on crutches for 7 weeks, which is about 3 weeks longer than teammate Tucker Kraft following his ACL surgery, because of his rehab also had to protect that repaired meniscus. So the anterior cruciate ligament, or ACL, is one of the 4 major ligaments that help stabilize that knee, and it runs from the center of the joint connecting from the femur and coming more anterior to the tibia, or that shin bone. Its main jobs are to limit that tibia from sliding too far forward relative to the femur and to control rotational movement at the knee. The rotational stability is critical for Micah Parsons. An edge rusher has to explode off the line, bend around to tackle, redirect when the quarterback does move, and absorb contact while his foot may be planted in the turf. Those movements place a large amount of force through that ACL. And then we have the 2 menisci that are located in between both the femur and the tibia. If we come from an aerial view, we see that there are 2 crescent-shaped or C-shaped pieces of fiber cartilage. Their primary role is to help distribute load, absorb shock, improve joint stability, and protect the articular cartilage. When a torn section of the meniscus can be repaired, surgeons typically often try to preserve it rather than remove it. The trade-off is that the repaired tissue needs time to heal, which can restrict early weight bearing and slow the first phase of rehabilitation. This was a classic non-contact ACL mechanism. Parsons was pursuing Bo Nix, planted awkwardly in an attempt to control and redirect his body. When the foot is fixed to the ground, the body continues to rotate or change direction, and the tibia then can translate and rotate under the femur. If that happens with rapid deceleration and knee moving inward or into a valgus position, the load on the ACL can exceed what the ligaments can tolerate. We cannot determine every force inside the knee from broadcast video alone, but the reported non-contact plant and immediate collapse fit the common pattern for an ACL injury. The important point is that Parsons did not need a direct blow to tear the ligament. His own speed, body weight, and change direction were enough to generate the force. A complete ACL tear in an elite NFL pass rusher is usually treated with reconstruction rather than simply allowing the injury to heal on its own. During an ACL reconstruction, the damaged ligament is placed with the tendon graft. The graft may come from an athlete's patellar tendon, quadricep tendon, or hamstring tendon, although Parsons' specific graft choice has not been publicly disclosed. The graft is passed through tunnels created in the femur and the tibia and secured in a position that reproduces the function of the native ACL. Meniscus repair is separate from part of the operation. The torn meniscal tissue is stabilized commonly with sutures or small fixation devices, so it has an opportunity to heal. So this combination definitely does change early rehab priorities. The medical staff has to restore knee motion and quadricep activation without placing much stress on the repaired meniscus. That helps explain why Parsons spent more than 7 weeks on crutches. So ACL recovery is not just simply a countdown on a calendar. Each phase requires the athlete to meet a specific physical criteria before advancing. During the first several weeks, the priorities are controlling pain and swelling, restoring full knee extension, gradually improving flexion, activating the quadriceps, and protecting the meniscus repair. As healing progresses, the focus does shift to normalizing walking, rebuilding quadriceps and hamstring strength, and improving that single leg balance and control. In the middle phase, athletes advance in heavier strength training, running, jumping, landing, and controlled change of direction work. And then that final phase, which is the most relevant for Parsons, He has to progress from straight line running to cutting, reacting, pass rush drills, contact, and repeated high-speed efforts without swelling, pain, loss of strength, or poor movement quality. Now, before full clearance, teams will typically evaluate range of motion, knee swelling, strength symmetry, power, hop testing, deceleration, change of direction ability, and the athlete's response to increasing practice loads. So the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons gives a broad return to sport range for 6 to 12 months after an ACL reconstruction, depending on strength, mechanics, and functional progress. For an NFL defender returning to an explosive, contact-heavy position, especially after a meniscus repair, 9 months or longer is much more realistic benchmark. So far, the public updates have been positive. In January, Parsons said he was rehabbing for about an hour each day. By early June, just over 5 months after surgery, he said he was extremely happy with his progress, even though the process has been physically and mentally challenging. His original hope was to return early in the season. However, the Packers medical staff established a 9-month rule before football activity, and Parsons has embraced a longer-term approach. During training camp, Parsons has remained on the physically unable to perform list. He has completed extensive warm-up, stretching, and running work while also attending meetings, watching walkthroughs, and learning the defense. On August 5th, Parsons said that his training staff were happy with where he was in the process, which is encouraging, but there has not been a report that he has been returned to full practice, contact work, or unrestricted football activity. That is a crucial distinction because running is an important milestone, but it does not recreate the rotational forces, reactive movement, repeat acceleration, and contact involved in rushing an NFL quarterback. The biggest question, will he be ready to start in the 2026 season? Based on the surgery date, the medical staff's timeline, and Parsons' own most recent comments, he is not expected to be ready for the start of the regular season. Green Bay opens against the Minnesota Vikings on September 13th. That is a little more than 8 months after his December 29th surgery and still short of the 9 months no football timeline described by Parsons and the Packers. On August 5th, Parsons called to return for the Packers in Week 6 matchup against the former team, the Dallas Cowboys, a very realistic, while emphasizing that it was not guaranteed. That game is scheduled for October 18th, more than 9.5 months after the surgery. That timeline makes much more sense medically because it gives Parsons time not only to reach that 9-month mark, but also the time to rebuild football conditioning and tolerate actual practice before playing in a game. So Micah Parsons suffered a non-contact ACL tear, underwent reconstruction with a meniscus repair, and has progressed into running higher level training. All the public updates suggest that his recovery is moving in the right direction. However, he is not expected to be ready for Week 1. Late September appears to be the target for returning to football activity, while a game return in October, potentially against the Dallas Cowboys in Week 6, is much more realistic. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you have any questions or comments down below, and thank you so much for watching.